Before I joined, I participated in multiple Sunday services, and the things that I heard, the stories, the ideas, the application of some of these things into people's lives, it was like a light came on, and it was like, you've been missing this. You've been missing this the whole time. Like, this is what you need, and this is a community of healing. This is a community of self-improvement. It's a community of spirituality, of an idea so much bigger than us.
No matter how mighty a warrior becomes, they cannot defeat their self. Across a long time, Jeff Love has witnessed the metamorphosis of inner conflict into peace. And that is the story you're about to hear. He talks about growing up inside of religion, finding expansion and realization in the military, recognizing the juxtaposition of his peace with war and war with peace, and a series of paradigm shifts, which has brought him to his grandest beginning yet. Thank you, Jeff, for being so much of yourself all at once. You're listening to Psilocybin Says. To support it, subscribe on YouTube and podcasts, and stay connected on Instagram and TikTok. And now, please welcome Jeff Love.
All right, Jeff Love, welcome to Psilocybin Says.
Hey, what's up?
What is up? I've been looking forward to this conversation. Many of the conversations we've been having, but here to share your story with our listeners, I think is it's really gonna be really valuable. And I know that in the sanctuary community, there's going to be a lot of people that are very much looking forward to this episode. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. How'd you come to psilocybin, Jeff?
All right. Well, I was born in 1980 in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm 43 years old. I'm a husband and a father and a grandfather. I am a prior service wartime veteran with multiple deployments. And I'll just kind of start with my life as kind of growing up as a teenager prior to going into the military, and then kind of move into the military a little bit. So prior to going into the service, I grew up in a Christian home. I was required to go to church usually 3 times a week, at least twice a week. But I kind of always had a little bit of a kickback to the idea of the guidelines, I guess, and the requirements of the religion of Christianity. So I kind of went into the military with an idea, that I had kind of closed the door on religion and spirituality. And I was just kind of a realist. I was going with what I saw, what I felt, what I had going on in my life. And these are the things that I could prove with, experience. And the life lessons that I had gained along the way were the things that I would use to guide my moral compass instead of a religion or spirituality. So I joined the military at a young age.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before you go too far, when did you break from church? When did you decide that it was just not a good fit for you?
Really, I started to dissociate and to question kind of from an early age, kind of, when you're told things, well, this just is because it is. And, I'm, as a child, I'm inquisitive. I want to know why. I want to know how. I want to learn this story. I want to know these things, it's just our nature. Right. And they just didn't add up. And when I'd ask questions, I got, kind of shut down on my questions, and we just don't ask questions and this, and it just didn't seem to me, even as a younger child. Right. But at the age of probably 15, 16, when I started to branch out as a teenager and really just be around friends and not around family a lot, and I just wasn't really required to go to church as much anymore, I just kind of started doing my own thing. And I left my house at about 17. My stepfather and I, we did not get along very well, which I don't like to refer to him as my stepfather, because he raised me and he loved me very, very much. It was just a conflict of me not respecting him as being the father that he was to me, and having issues with my own biological father. You know, and then I think, not to jump too far forward, but being a father and having children and understanding where he was coming from really gives you a different outlook on things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was, so I left the house at 17, moved in with friends, and just kind of was living life kind of on my own and doing my own thing. And I was pretty happy doing that. You know, I mean, I was still a teenager and not really going to school, not really doing a lot of things productive, you know, probably more getting in trouble and hanging out and just having a good time. So that's where I found that the military was probably the best choice for me, since I knew with my upbringing and with the ideas that I had for my life that I would have to move into something that was going to push me forward and give me some form of structure, even though it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was what I knew I needed. So I went ahead and I kind of made that jump at an early age and went into the military. I went to basic training and went to AIT. I was a Black Hawk crew chief door gunner. I was part of a medevac unit for a long time, and I went to war. Saw a lot of things that I didn't really want to see. Was part of a lot of actions that, now that I've had time to go back and reevaluate and feel guilty about and feel remorse and feel, you know, just a lot of those things, just a lot of those feelings. You know, so I went in as a formable young adult, you know, and the military kind of molded me to what I needed to be for them. And it really, when you combine that with a strict Christian background and a lot of structure and a lot of rules, you know, you end up forming basically a lifestyle. You know, you kind of, I was programmed. You know, I met my wife while I was in the military. And we've been married for 22 years now. That was an amazing relationship that just popped up in the middle of a crazy time in my life. And we knew each other for about 45 days and got married, and we've been married for 22 years. She was in the military as well. And I feel like that, you know, that's the only thing that has been able to keep our relationship from falling apart, because there were times where she could understand and see, you know, that I'm not the only person that was going through this, and I'm not the only, you know, it just gave her at least a different perspective than what some others have to go through that don't get to see things from that side. They just get to see the hurt and the anger and the frustration. So I was 23 years old, and I deployed I was 21 years old. September 11th happened. 5 days before September 11th, we landed in Bosnia, and I was part of a rotation in Bosnia. And we went through the Balkan Mountains searching for threats, because we had a little bit of a insight to September 11th, and we had a high threat. We basically were under a high threat in the Balkan region. So I went to Bosnia and did a rotation in Bosnia in 2001. And then I came back home, and I went, we were on Christmas break at my grandmother's house, and I got a phone call from my unit saying that I needed to come home and that we were getting ready to deploy and that we were going to Iraq. I came home, we left, and arrived in country on January 27th, and we waited until March to go to war. So it was just a huge burden on my mind, you know, to know these things and to be there and to kind of live in that environment and not know at 23 years old, not know what to expect, and not really be aware of how the things that were about to happen were about to change my life forever. Also, when I left, my wife was pregnant. My son was born on March the 3rd. And after about 3 weeks, I got a printed out picture from my commander that had come through email. And I got to see my son for the first time. And I went through my first tour where we went forward from Kuwait all the way, through Baghdad and up into Mosul and back down to Fallujah. And I went through all of that, not knowing if I'd ever meet my son,
Yeah.
So at 23 years old, it's a lot to digest, just a lot to, I came out of a world where we're in a first world country where I have, access to all these things, and life is just easy, and it's kind of what you make it. And then I go and I've witnessed these third world countries, and I've seen the way that these other people live, and the way that the hardships that they face and the things that they have. And it really gives you a different outlook on the world and on life, so I feel like because of that experience, it really rounded me out as an individual. It really made me learn how to start to take everything else into account instead of just being inside of myself and how my world was affected by just me and the things that I did. But that there were so many other things out there, and people, and different ways and different ideas and different, just and kind of being exposed to some of this is what really tweaked a little bit of my interest, kind of at that time about a little bit more about spirituality. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of dealing with the fact that I might die today, and I might die tomorrow, and I might die the next day. It's all just about making it to the end of the day. It's all about waking up tomorrow. So, that kind of, I started to kind of reevaluate the idea, and I got really lost in the fact, well, if there's all these things in the world, and there's all these religions, and everybody has the right one and everything, it just depends on what region you're in, to what religion you are, to what, you believe. So how could this possibly be the only way, or this could be the right way? Because everyone feels like they have the right way. So again, I'm 23. I come home. And I meet my son for the first time. I get to see my wife. I get to see my family. Man, things are great. But I feel this void in my life. I feel this, like this hole where I think I had spent, a year with nothing but the raw emotion of fear and aggression and anger. My for the last year that I had lived, I had lived my life of either I'm okay or I'm not okay. There's no in between emotion. There's no time for that emotion. There's a task to be done. There's a goal to accomplish, and I don't have time to have feelings about it. I only have time to do the things that I need to do. So being taught those ways in the military, being programmed that way, and then being put into real life scenarios to where now you have lived this way, and to come back home into a society of people who, don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful that our country welcomed us home, that we didn't go through the things that, other soldiers have had to go through coming home. That's but there was so much support, but it just didn't take away the parts of me that had lived that. And I had come home and tried to ignore, those parts of me that had lived that life, that had been there. And then, a year goes by and here we go again. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I went back overseas, came back home, got out of the military. 15 days after I was out of the military, I was offered a position as a government contractor, making more money than I'd ever made. I had 3 children now. And I was out of the military with no clue as to what I was going to do. So I took a job as a contractor doing what I knew how to do. I went back overseas. And I spent probably total time about 6.5 years overseas, just living a life of I would call home every day that I could. I would always try to keep contact and keep my relationship strong and talk to my children and see my children. And that part of me as being a father and being a husband, that was always there, and I wanted to be a part of that. But there was a time where I knew that I had a problem, because every time I would come home, because I would come home for a few months and then I would leave and go back. You have to stay in theater for 330 consecutive days to get your tax-free pay. And then you go back. So I'd come home for 30 days and sometimes a month or two and then go back. But life seemed so difficult while I was at home. Life was so complicated. Like, the stress that was created by all of these small little things that were so unimportant, that really didn't make a difference on whether you made it until tomorrow. And then to come home with that mentality of, these are the things that are important. And you're so I hope that I'm not rambling with this, but
no, this is perfect.
But, so, I come home and I was happy. I was happy with the people that I love. But I was so out of my element or out of my comfort zone that I couldn't reprogram myself to come back in it. So I just kept leaving. And I knew that I had a problem when it broke my heart in two to get on an airplane. And it tore me apart to tell my wife and kids goodbye and to have them drop me off, to know that I was doing this by choice, and it just destroyed parts of me. And I questioned myself so bad. But the feeling when I stepped off of a plane into 140-degree heat and pieces of sand hit me in the face, I had the most incredible and overwhelming feeling of it's just all going to be okay. This is where you're supposed to be. This is where and I couldn't figure out why. But I knew that something inside of me was wrong. There was no way that I could have all of this emotion and all of this tie to home, but yet my comfort zone was here in a war zone. My comfort zone was where it was simple to live. It was very easy. It was just, we do the things that we have to do. We accomplish the task. There is no half-ass. There's no not making it. We're going to make it. We're going to do it. And that's what we do. And that's just how I lived. That was my mentality. That was my life. And
can I ask you, were you able to have these kinds of conversations or talk about these feelings with your fellow contractors or fellow military?
No, there's no one. There was no one to talk to. There was no one to. I haven't talked about this stuff to. There's things that my own family doesn't know. There's things that. There's just things that I would be afraid that people would look at me differently, especially the people that I love, the people that I care about, that they mean the most to me, I can't say that I was in control at those moments because I was living off of a program. I was living off of the idea that I had to do what the man in my headset tells me to do, or I have to do what my commander says, or I have to do this, and they don't have to live with the decisions that I made that broke my moral code, that violated the things that I didn't want to violate, the things that, but I did the things that I had to do because that's what I thought my only options were. That's kind of, and don't get me wrong. I think we've discussed this. I love my country, and I absolutely love the people of this country. I love the ideas. I love all of it. And I would fight for this country any day, but I would rather stay here and fight if I had to fight for it on my own land. I don't think I agree with fighting wars in other lands as off the pretense of the ideas of another man versus how I feel morally about it.
Did that perspective?
Oh, go ahead. I'm
sorry. Go ahead. Well, I was just going to ask if that perspective changed while you were overseas, or if it took some time coming back before you had that shift.
It took some time. I didn't shift until after, and that's when I started to find that now, when I was in it and when I was around it, it was making me crazy. I was drinking. I was so engulfed in it, and I was good at what I did. I was really, I made a career out of it. I could have had a even more promising, or even more of a career and done more. But I noticed that my morals they didn't align with what I was doing. And I was unhappy, and I was miserable. I was making other people in my life miserable because, I just couldn't. And that kind of went for work altogether for a long time. I worked for 25 years, and after I got out of the military, I never kept the same job for over a year and a half, 2 years. I couldn't work in the same place with the same people for that long. Mm-hmm. I always did the things that I had to do to raise my family and make sure that I was employed, make sure that they had everything that they needed. But for me, I always knew that I would never retire from one company. I would never, I couldn't stand the politics. I couldn't be around the individuals. I can only put up with the lack of care that comes with some of the people that are in the society that I live in and in the workforce. And it was that programming in my head. It was that, it was, instead of me being able to see that, this is how you're giving your time, and you're swapping your time for money, and this is what you do, but your time is the most valuable thing that you have. And the way that you do that time, it doesn't affect the way that I get paid for my time. It doesn't change that at all. And, but I was so busy trying to be productive and be good at what I did that running teams and running people and being in charge was something that I had grown accustomed to. And, I could go to work and be very, very good at work, and I could thrive at work, and I could be appreciated at work. I could be, I was given, an award by the Joint Task Force Special Forces Commander, just for doing my job. I was good at it, and I enjoyed it a lot. But that mentality coming out of the military, trying to carry that over into a civilian life and into a civilian career is just, it's almost unmanageable. It's your expectations are too high. You know what I mean? You're just, my ego doesn't fit there. My ego it can for a little while, but it didn't. So I couldn't keep a job. So we moved around a lot. My oldest son.
I want to ask some questions if I can. And again, like any of this stuff, you just can feel free to not answer. But I can't help but ask if and maybe you've had the opportunity, but if you were to sit down in a room with 1 or 100 young men or women who were enlisted and were about to go off into service with the military, what kind of things would you say to them?
Well, the first thing that I would say is that I am proud to know them, and that I respect their decision, because it's an individual decision to choose to do that. For you to say that you are willing and to go through the action of putting your life on the line for the idea of freedom and the idea of what it is that not maybe our current government, but what our country stands for, what our idea of our country, what our idea of our foundation of what this is to be, right? And just like so many generations for thousands of years, war is inevitable. War is an action of life. And I would tell them that, unfortunately, in today's society, that we live in a place where the warrior is not always understood. Like I said, I would tell them that I was proud, but I would also tell them to stay true to their morals, to stay true to themselves, and to understand that they've given themselves to do a job, but to use humanity in their decisions as well. And I know it's not always as easy. And a lot of things go out the door when you're getting shot at. A lot of ideas, a lot, man. And here's the deal. It's like, I would love to tell you that I might think differently in a different situation. But the thing that I know about myself is that if it's you or me, I'm going to do everything I can. I've learned these things about myself. And these are things that you don't know until you're put into these situations. Some of these things are things that some people will never have to deal with. And I'm so glad and I'm happy for that. And I would commend those people that are going in, because they are taking the place of those people that are never going to have to go through that. And that's what that volunteer is. That volunteer is the person who is willing to say, I'll do what it takes so you can go do, And then when I come home, I hear things that I don't like, or I see things that I don't like, but I have to remember that I fought for your right to have that feeling. I fought for your right to have that opinion, to have that voice. You know what I mean? Like, and that's part of it. That's what it's all about. It's not about me. It's about the whole. It's about the, so that's that part of my commitment. I took an oath to this country, and I got out of the military, but I never gave my oath back, and I never will. It's like my oath to my children and my wife. I will always protect you. I will never put myself first in those situations. And I learned that through selfless service, I guess, it's just something that I didn't understand it at the time. To be honest, I just thought I was a little badass at the time. I just thought it was just, this is what I do. But there was no contemplation, no idea of what have I done, or who and how did I affect the lives of others, and how did I change things for them. So coming home from the military, if you have any more questions, we can go over this.
That's how.
So coming home and getting out of the military, I was a contractor, and coming home from contracting, I really had a hard time finding my place. Like I said, I was all over the place. I went back to aviation and worked, I'd work 2 years at Fort Bragg, and then go to 2 years at Fort Benning, and then a couple of years in Huntsville in Alabama, and then, just bounce around wherever contracts are open. And then my life while I was doing that was just falling apart. I was going to work every day, and I was doing the things that I needed to do. but I had started drinking very heavily. I had started getting to the point where I was really contemplating and thinking about a lot of things that I had done, and a lot of things that, a lot of these emotions were coming up because it had been a few years, and like I was starting to grow and starting to move past. And I was trying to sort these things out, and I thought, how can I be this human being? And I thought, alcohol makes me numb. I like to drink. I was a workaholic. I like to work. I worked 70 hours a week. I didn't care. To me, I was just doing the right thing. My wife didn't have to work. She was at home with the kids, raising kids, doing what I thought was what we wanted to do. But I was never taking into consideration what she wanted, or if she had any goals or dreams or wanted to do anything other than raise children, So that caused a big strain on our relationship. Not the fact of the things that she wanted to do, but just the fact that I was angry, and I was angry with myself. So I would drink, and then I didn't want to come home. I wanted to go to the bar and drink, and then I would come home from the bar, and then I would be angry and mad. And now you're frustrated because I'm coming home from the bar, but I'm going to drink because I'm frustrated with myself, and I'm mad and angry. You're mad and angry, and I'm not the type of person that gets run over, so I'm going to run over you because you're trying to be mad at me, and I'm going to shut you down. And then it kind of felt like at the same time, I didn't like myself, so I couldn't figure and see how other people liked me. And I didn't want to be around people, so if I was just mean and hurt your feelings, then you didn't want to be around me either. For some reason, that was the way that my brain decided that we were going to use that as a coping mechanism. We were going to try to find, and I was just grasping for straws. I was just trying to find a way to work through some things. I had contacted the VA. I had talked to them a little bit and didn't have a lot of success. My life kind of got to the point where, well, it did get to the point where my wife was, she was like, I can't take this anymore. You got to do something. You've got to figure this out. You've got to get things going. And so I went and I was diagnosed PTSD with anger, aggression, with antisocial mood disorder. And I was bipolar. And they just told me all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, then there's something wrong with me. I'm broken, right? Now I'm broken. There's a reason, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you just have to put up with me and this medicine and whatever's going on because I'm broken and this isn't my fault and I didn't do this to me and, whatever. Mm-hmm. At least that's my brain's idea, right? That's the logic that's coming from these people that are telling me that I have all these things wrong with me, right? Because I was depressed and I was angry and I was, but there was never an idea of let's talk to the root cause. It was more of, here's some medication. Come talk to me in 2 weeks. When I talk to you, it's always about medication. It's never about what's going on. It's never about, so there was no therapy. There was no integration of anything other than how does the medicine make me feel? Am I sad? Am I happy? How am I doing? So I went through about 13 different medications over about 2 years.
Jesus.
Yeah. I went through just some rough times with that, like some super emotional days, some super, and I was just driving my wife crazy, man, like destroying my life, everything that I'd built, everything that was important to me, all of the things that had meant what my life meant to me, they were all going away. They were all being destroyed. And so the last medication they put me on was clonazepam. I took Klonopin for almost 2 years. And I didn't care what happened. I didn't care if I was sad. I didn't care if I was happy. I didn't care about money. I didn't care about anything. We'd have been sitting around a fire. You just said, Jeff, your foot's on fire. I'd look down and I'd have been like, huh, it is. Maybe I should move it. You know, like I just didn't care. That was who I was. And then my wife comes to me, and in the middle of that, we had just hit a boiling point. We had just hit a point where things were not working at all. And she moved here to Kentucky and left me in Alabama for a summer. And then she came home, and we worked on a few things. And then, I basically was given an ultimatum if I'm going to come here and work on this, or she's going to leave and come home and be around her family and the things that she wants. And that's how I got here. That's how I got to Kentucky. And we went through a hard time as a couple, as friends, as parents. But we never gave up. And we just didn't understand why, but just didn't stop. Like even when things got bad and we had to be separated, it was still just it just didn't stop. So, I came up here and I started working. I got away from aviation. I had done that in Alabama prior, but I got away from contracting. I got away from the Army. I got away from military mentality. It's amazing how when I go to work with people who have been in the same situations, who have been and have stories and have just these experiences that are so close, they're so wrapped and entwined together. And it's as simple as hearing somebody tell a story where, man, I was there. I was just on the other side. I was, I never met you. I never knew you, but man, I was, just it's a small world, mm-hmm. right? So I had to get away from that because it was like, it was just making me crazy. It was making me unable to function in the capacity of civilian Jeff. It was keeping me stuck in that mentality of that military mindset. So I just had to get away from it, and I did. Ended up going to school and ended up working on electronics, and went to school for electrical engineering technologies. I have a very widespread background of I fabricate, weld, paint, can work with metal, do woodwork. I'm a certified GM technician, certified diesel technician. I'm when it comes to working on things, I'm pretty handy. So I never had a problem finding employment. I just couldn't find something that was something that I really wanted to do, or that didn't drive me crazy after. I want to say crazy. It didn't meet what I needed in my life, So I was changing jobs and doing that. So I got up here in Kentucky and I was working, and I got away from aviation, and I was still on the Klonsman. And then my wife came to me one day, just like she did the years before, and said, "Oh my gosh, I can't take this. I can't do this anymore. We can't do the medicine." So after 2 years of clonazepam, where you're not supposed to quit, I just put the bottle down, and picked it back up. I never picked it back up. Never took another pill after that.
What was that transition like?
To be honest, the worst part about it was that I couldn't expose the things that I was feeling because I was afraid that it was going to affect my relationship. I was afraid that I was going to drive her farther away. So it was like, I kind of went through this withdrawal and this, but I didn't want to expose any weakness or any, I just, so, and I did. It was rough. it was rough. I was still drinking. So I probably started drinking more because I came off of the Klonopin.
What was it? Was it this not feeling? If you don't mind, like what prompted her to say that?
Well, because all the medicine was doing was making me numb. I just didn't care. I didn't care about it. There's a difference. There's a difference in being a happy person and being someone who is actively participating in life and in, creating and strengthening and just nurturing relationships and things like that. And those were not things that I was capable of doing. I wasn't capable of being there for you. I wasn't capable of being the person who I've always valued myself to be. And I'll no matter what it takes, I'll be there. I'll be that person for my family, for my kids, for my wife. It doesn't matter. But not being able to be that person, not being able to, losing 2 years of processing anything, and then it was like every week that went by, I would look at more and more things that I had done while I was on Klonopin, and I was like, I never would have done that if I wouldn't have been that. I never would have made those financial decisions. I never would have done these things. I never would have, it was like the more and more things, they just like kept coming clear. Like every time I would try to go back in, things would just be clearer and clearer. And the longer I got away from the longer it had been since I had the Klonopin, the clearer I got on the decisions, the clearer it became of what my moral code was, the clearer it was kind of coming to me of the person that I was supposed to be. And then realizing the person that I was at the moment, you know what I mean? So my wife and I were still not having the greatest relationship. We were co-parenting pretty well, but our relationship was suffering. I decided to start going to the gym. I didn't know why. I just didn't like the way that I looked. So I decided to start going to the gym. And after about 3 weeks of going to the gym, I'd asked my wife, Silver, I said, well, for my birthday, I think I want like a 24-hour gym access membership. I'll pay it every month if you just want to get me started. And she did. And man, it just created this huge release of emotion, adrenaline, anger. It just really released these hormones by going to the gym that just kind of started to self-regulate my body a little bit, started to kind of bring me kind of back into, like I'm using it. This is what it's for. You know what I mean? So when you use your body, it produces and makes hormones and does the things that it's supposed to do. When you take a happy pill and you lay on the couch and you don't do anything and you drink a lot of beer all the time, you know what I mean? Your body doesn't do the things that it's supposed to do. You can't be the person that you're supposed to be. You can't expect to be a happy person when you're not taking care of yourself, when you're not, you have, there's a foundation that has to be laid for you to be a successful individual, whether it be happiness, in anything. So, I got into the gym and I stopped drinking. And my wife, I remember she was like, I'm kind of frustrated that, I've asked you to stop drinking all these times and you don't want to stop drinking for me, but you'll stop drinking for the gym. And I think I just kind of had to put it to her. I was like, but I stopped drinking. We're stopping drinking. You know what I mean? I couldn't go to the gym and make myself feel good and then come home and drink a 6-pack and wake up and be like shit. And I'm like, what? I went to the gym. Why don't I feel good? Well, that's because you killed all your recovery. You killed all your ability to heal and do, So I quit drinking. I had been smoking cigarettes back then. I quit smoking cigarettes. I just started going to the gym and just started trying to be healthy. And I ended up really finding happiness in myself, being able to push the world away for an hour a day and to say, while I'm in here, I'm in control. I'm controlling what I do. I'm controlling what machine or what weight I lift. I'm controlling how many times I do it. I am in control of my own world. And for that hour, that was the beginning. That was where it started, was that I started to notice that, I kind of like being me for this hour. I kind of like the person that I am. Kind of like the thought processes that go on in this hour, But then I would leave and life would go back to that. I just didn't know how to. It's like I had all this clutter and I had a filing cabinet, but I didn't know how to file any of it away, right? Like it's sitting over here ready to be put away, but I don't know how to do it. So it's just, it's everywhere. My life is just everywhere when I walk out of here. But when I walk into that gym, it's quiet, everything shuts up, and it's just from here to here, right? So, and I repeated that, and I repeated it, and I repeated it, and I started to feel better. And I started to find a happiness with myself, a happiness with my decisions, a happiness with my ability to stay on track, to stay on course, to do things differently. And these things seemed to me to be promising of what I could do, what I could create. So I really got into the gym. And I changed gyms, went to a different gym. I had a job that was close to another gym. We can fast forward a little bit, and I got my wife to join the gym with me. And we got into CrossFit, and we had fun. And she started to enjoy fitness, and she really started to enjoy coming in and spending that time with me and being around me and watching me. One of the things that I remember her telling me was like she was like I see, kind of like you being you being not the things that, but like not all the life expectancies, not all that other, but like that person that shines when you're that kid, you know what I mean? Like that. Like I see you coming out. I see you. And it, by me being able to find me and be happy with me, I was able to start to repair things in the relationship, start to grow and move forward in my life with the things that were the most important to me that had become some of the things that I was going to lose. So my life was kind of continually starting to get better, but I was also pushing myself to these extremes, and I was making myself so physically exhausted and so physically drained that I couldn't fight you, because I still wanted to fight people. I still wanted to be angry. I still wanted to be frustrated. And after a couple of years in the gym, I got so big I couldn't get anybody to fight me. Like even when people would get mad, I couldn't get nobody to fight me anyway. So, but that was still the opposite end for where we were trying to get to, right? So you just don't want to be that person. But I was using all of that aggression, and I was using it in a positive way, and it was working positively in my life. It was creating a very good impact in my daily routine, in my family life. I also took it as the opportunity to, I have a 19, 20, and 25-year-old son, all sons. And I really wanted to look at them and be like, if I can do this at 40, if I can do this at 38, 39, 40 years old, what's stopping you guys from doing anything? You can do anything you want to do. You just have to apply yourself. And then I got, I somewhat got kicked out of CrossFit because I tend to be like, okay, well, we got done with this. Well, let's do something else. You guys can do 135 pounds for 50 times, but can you do 225 for 5? Let's see what we can do. And they're like, there's this sport called strongman. You should go check it out. So they didn't kick me out. They just kind of like patted me on the back and pushed me in the direction of a new sport. And so I ended up finding strongman, and that's where things in my life with physical fitness, coaching other people, writing programs, all of that really started to evolve. I started to get serious about my training. I had a coach that had won America's Strongest Man in my weight class a few years prior. He really kind of turned me into, if I was a machine, I was a fighter jet or a race car, and it was like, we put in only the fuel you need. We do only the things we need. We really apply our life to only being this thing. And man, it was great. I really enjoyed it. And now my life with my wife and children still continued to improve, right? These things are making accomplishments. They were kind of helping rebuild me, I guess, and rebuild my idea of myself. Not necessarily making me who I am, but pushing through adversity, showing up when you don't want to, just really kind of getting back to those values and morals that I knew in myself, and this was making me bring those back out of myself. The sense of accomplishment, you know what I mean? Like, I competed a lot. I did really good. But some of my best days were when nobody was around. Some of my best times were when I had to do something physical that was so hard that I thought, I'll never get through this. I'll never be able to do it. But you know what? Either it's going to put me on the ground or I'm going to do it anyways. And I'd be doggone if I didn't make it through it. So it was like, it even though I didn't realize that those were going to be the metaphors that I was going to use a little bit later to help me realize that I can apply that to everything in life, that's how, but I didn't realize it then. And then it was just that stepping stone. So my wife and I both got into strongman, and I competed. I made it to compete at a national level. And I took third place at a national competition. And then a week later, I tore my left quad tendon in half, ripped my right hamstring, broke my fourth metatarsal on my right foot, and crushed my left ankle in an accident in about 2 seconds.
God damn.
So I was in a wheelchair.
Did a weight fall on you, or did you what can you share what happened?
Yeah. So I was doing a overhead press, and I was in really, really good shape. I was pretty strong. So I had 309 pounds on a bar, and I did a successful overhead press, and I put it back in the rack.
God.
I put it back in the rack and added a little more weight. I put 317 pounds on there. I stepped out of the rack with it. Everything was good. When I bent my knees to get a little bit of a push like this, it's like you bend your knees and shoot up, and I bent my knee and my leg shot out from under. My quad tendon ripped in half right there.
Oh, fuck.
Earlier that day, I had done a 585-pound axle deadlift, probably 30 minutes prior. So I was really kind of running in a red zone anyway. But I had been invited by some pros to come lift and hang out, and
God damn.
But my life completely changed right there, that moment.
Right. But I mean, just trying to envision that. Did you drop the weights behind you? They didn't land on you, or I mean, how did you stay like as safe as you did without getting really hurt?
Would you like to see the video?
Oh, whoa.
That's up to you. The weight came down on top of me. All right. I see.
There's a way to line it through this thing here, but I don't know how to do it right.
Well, I was going to say, I think I can hold it if you.
Yeah, hold it up to the screen. God damn, I can't believe you got this on video.
Oh, yeah. All right. So let's see. Can we get a good. There's me in the hospital bed. Let me see if I can get less of a glare on here.
Yeah, it's not showing up. It might not work. I don't know.
Let's see. I'm not sure where the glare is coming from.
Yeah. Yeah, there's too much glare coming in. I can't really see it.
Let's see. Let me try this.
Is this on your Instagram page?
Yes. Yeah.
Holy shit! Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'll post a link to the video in the show notes. So, and I'm gonna I can. Holy shit! Yeah, I saw it. Oh my god!
I'll get the videos to you if you want to.
Well, I can. If you don't care, I mean, I could just post a link to it on the Instagram feed. I'm sure there's gonna be people that would be interested. God damn,
that's fine.
Holy shit!
So that was life.
Yeah, be fucking. I mean, like, what were there any thoughts like when that happened? Like, can you even recall where you were mentally during the?
Yeah. So, God. So, like I said, man, I was in front of 3 strongman pros that I just missed my pro card by 2 spots. But I was invited. So I had these people that I was in front of, and I had, my wife was recording, and I'm just, I don't know. I have a pretty decent pain tolerance. So I just kind of laid there. I laid there. I knew that I was, they were like, well, what do you want me to do? My wife, she just freaked out. She's like, well, what do you, at this point, she thinks that I am like unbreakable. She thinks that I am like, there is nothing that I can't do. And, if you, she has a video of me doing a 320-pound stone from the ground to a 4 foot over. Yeah. So we did some big stuff. But so I'm laying there on the ground, and I haven't really thought about what's going to happen yet, right? Other than the ambulance is on the way, and I'm laying there, and they're asking me if I'm okay, and they're talking to me, and I'm just laying there trying to talk to people, because I know if I start focusing on the pain that I'm not gonna be able to get away from it. And then so my brain says, oh, Jeff, you've got on brand new SPD knee sleeves. They're $90 knee sleeves. You need to take those off. They're going to cut those off. The ambulance is going to cut those in half to get them off your leg. So I talked the guy who owns the gym to come over there and pull my knee sleeve off. And when he did, so if this hand is my kneecap and this hand is my quad tendon rolled up my leg, and my kneecap went down below on my shin.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I was like, oh,
yeah, I bet. And
so,
and it's him taking off the sleeve that caused it to snap like that.
Well, no, it had already snapped. The sleeve was holding things in place.
Right. Well, it was holding it in place.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when the sleeve came off, that muscle tensed and it curled up because there's no tendon holding it to your kneecap. So my quad tendon came way in my thigh, and then
the pain just like.
Oh man!
I'm sorry. Go ahead. The
pain was fucking horrible, bro. The pain was rough.
Yeah, but I mean, like after like before the knee brace or whatever was on, or once that was removed, did the pain just go through the fucking ceiling?
Yeah.
Had to. God damn, man. Oh my God.
And then I have people asking me, they're like, oh my gosh, does it not hurt? Does it not hurt? And I'm like, just get the ambulance here. And I'm like trying to keep my brain almost in shock. You know what I mean? Like I really want it to be in shock, but I'm like starting to like analyze every second. Shit. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, okay, if I can just stay in shock till they get here, you know what I mean? If I can just, because it's like I realized the moment that it happened, as soon as I hit the floor, like the first thought I think that I had that was conscious was more of like, if you panic, this is going to be even worse. Don't panic. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do. Don't panic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the ambulance comes to get me, and they take me to the emergency room. they evaluate my left leg and tell me that because of COVID, that I'm going to have to go home and schedule a surgery. I'll have to have a COVID test. It's going to take 7 days before I can get into the...
Oh, my God.
So I went home for 7 days with nothing attached. Didn't know it at the time that I was at the hospital until I'm getting ready to leave the hospital. But then when they had given me crutches to walk on, and I guess my adrenaline was so high, and then the ambulance had given me pain meds, that when I got off the table to use the crutches, that's the first time we found out my right foot was broken. So I put my foot down to get ready to leave, and they just say, well, you'll just have to call the ortho about it. We're already through with the visit. We've already discharged you.
Oh my God.
So I come home.
Was this a VA hospital?
No, this was Norton.
No. Okay. Okay.
And then, so I come home and I wake up the next day and my right hamstring is purple, the whole backside of my leg. So I ripped my hamstring, broke my right ankle. My left ankle hurts worse than anything on my body. And I'm going and getting x-rays and getting all these images taken, and there's nothing wrong. It's just swelling. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. I'm like, look, I have a piece that's not attached to my knee. I've got a broken foot that I can't walk on. And my foot that you say nothing's wrong with hurts worse than anything else on my body. The pain meds are not working. What's wrong with my foot? Something's wrong with my foot. So I spend 12 weeks, I spent 10 and a half, 11 weeks locked out at 0 on my left leg in a demobilized where I can't move. I'm at 0 degrees, completely stretched out in front of me and in a wheelchair. So I'm silly, man. I'm going to the gym in a wheelchair. I'm lifting weights in a wheelchair. I'm trying.
Oh shit!
You check out my Instagram account, you'll see. You'll see. My wife is like, I don't want to take you, but I so
damn.
This
all right,
is not going to break me. I'm going to get this. Blah blah blah. Whatever. So my doctor wasn't very open and honest, really, about what my recovery was going to be and what I was going to be able to do. And he kind of gave me a lot of false sense of hope there at the beginning that I was going to be able to do a lot of things that I was able to do and that it wasn't going to affect me quite the way that it was. So after my surgery and after I started healing and going through physical therapy, and I would get better for weeks and weeks, I would do better. And then all of a sudden I would hurt myself and I would just go back, and I go back to like almost ground zero. And I got my legs strengthened up, or I got my strength, and I got my leg to start developing and to grow back because I tore part of my quad muscle off. It ripped off with the tendon when a tendon broke. And in the process of trying to grow that back, I just kept having all these problems with my ankle and all these issues with my ankle. And I was really, really concerned with having, pain meds and using pain meds. So I really tried really hard to not become one of those people that because of a surgery I had to go down through a road of coming off of opiates or something like that. I didn't want that to be. I'd already had all these other things in my life and all this other experience with medication that I was like, I don't want shit that comes out of a bottle. I don't want it. It's not what now I had always smoked cannabis, but I really started to use dab and just extremely potent forms of cannabis, and they worked very well for the pain. They don't make the pain go away. I don't. Anybody that tells me that, it makes it not hurt, I don't believe that. Just from my own personal experience, what it does do is where pain's right here in front of me, looking at me right in the eyes and telling me this hurts, this sucks. We can't focus on anything else. It kind of moves it way back here to the back of the room, and I can still hear it, but I can focus on other things. Other things are still coming in as information other than only this pain voice that's right here. So I was able to not have to use so many pain meds. There were still days that physical therapy, it didn't matter how much I smoked, I could not get through physical therapy without having to have some sort of pain meds. So I ended up still having issues out of my ankle. And a year later, finally had a doctor find a shattered bone in my ankle, and it had healed and grown into my tendons and my nerves. And he finally went in. I had that cut out. And since then, on my physical recovery, things have started to pick up and started to move forward again. And that I'm very, very grateful for. But I'm pretty sure if I could have gotten that taken care of with the first surgery with my knee, that my recovery and the ability that I have now to walk and do things would be much better than what it is currently. So,
that is crazy. Like, did you know that a third of all hospital deaths are from either malpractice or some doctor mistake?
It doesn't surprise me. It does not.
A third,
right? Like, you have to sign. I know that you have to sign a waiver when you go into the hospital, saying, like you're basically relinquishing the. You're no longer responsible if you kill me. And
it's incredible how much gets missed. I mean, and I'm not here to criticize doctors or anything like that. It's a hard job, but we put a whole lot of faith, a whole lot of stock in something that's only really truly not even say successful. It's something that can a third of the time can fucking kill you.
Right. So my second doctor, my second surgeon, he was very, very realistic with the, with my, what I could expect, with what my expectations should be. And knowing that information, it was much easier to kind of come to terms with what was going on, because I was finding myself in a position where the doctor that I had, the surgeon that I had, he was telling me that, you should be able to do these things, and you should be able to do this, and this is going to be good. And this, so I'm going and I'm trying these things, and I'm hurting myself.
Of course.
Right. Because I'm not the individual who's going to sit here and just not do it because if I want to do it, I'm going to go try. I'm going to go, I don't know. It's just the way that I am. So it was my lifestyle. It was the way that I coped. It was the way that I dealt with my depression. It was the way that I dealt with my anger. It was the way, and now I lost it. I lost my ability. The thing that had made my life better with my family, the thing that had put my life back together, I lost my ability to do it. I could no longer give my 100% in a physical capacity to exhaust myself to where I've had such an emotional and mental release that things were clear and that things were, I think that we all can experience, through exercise, that euphoria that you get. Well, when you go as hard as you can for 4 hours, Silver and I would go to the gym 5 days a week for 3.5 to 4 hours every time. That's how much time we were dedicating to this. There was a day dedicated to meal prep. There was a day, we did all of these things, and she helped me do these things so I could achieve this goal, so I could try to get to this place. And it was such a beneficial thing for me, that she loves the fact that I was doing it. And then, so like I said, I just lost it. I lost the ability to be able to do this. And I noticed the depression coming back. I noticed the new evaluation of self-worth, because my life had changed. My ability to do simple things like protect my wife and children, to run out of a burning building, to run into a burning building to save someone. These are decisions and things in my life that I probably, I never had the burning building, but you kind of learn, either you run towards gunfire or you run away from it. You're going to go help fix the problem, or you're going to go hide. I'm not a hider. So to me, for me to have that limitation, I had to come to terms with that as a man, that I couldn't do physically the things that I was able and capable of doing. I have a wonderful wife who for 12 weeks bathed me because I couldn't do it myself. She was just there. She was just this amazing person that was just ready to be there for me. And, all that time that I have sitting there in a chair, can't move and can't do anything. And it's just thinking about who am I? Who am I now? What do I do now? How, by losing the thing that I thought was the only thing that was good for me, you know what I'm saying? Like it just, but what it did was it pushed me out of my comfort zone. It pushed me away from the thing that I had used. It made me realize that was a stepping stone, and that life and the universe had redirected me from the thing that I loved to show me that it wasn't that thing that I loved. It was all these other things that I loved. That thing just helped me heal it, that thing, So I really had to evaluate, what I was going to do. And I knew that I was having all these feelings and all these crazy ideas, and just kind of the nonstop thought, kind of like I wasn't in control of the thinker. And I let it run away with me. So I decided that I would try some therapy. No medicine, psychology, not psychiatry. No medicine. I wasn't interested in medicine. If you brought up the word medicine, we were no longer having a conversation. I just hang up and be done with it. I'll call a different doctor. I knew that wasn't what I was using cannabis, and it works. My idea with cannabis is there are those times where I'm in an angry place, or I'm in a place that I won't say that I shouldn't be there, because we have the feelings that we have, but I shouldn't dwell there, right? And I shouldn't let those places control me. I should be able to release and move on and move forward and grow. And when I'm having some of those moments, cannabis really brings me into the now. It really brings me away from, an overuse of cannabis will send me back inside. But a moderate use of cannabis, or the just the extent that I need, and it just pulls me into the now, pulls me into what's going on right now at this moment, right? And whether it's I'm walking outside and I'm like, man, the trees are pretty and the grass is green and the sky's blue, or whether I'm inside and I'm petting the dog, or I'm just more focused in on what I'm doing at that moment instead of the constant running and going. So, but I knew I needed therapy. I needed to talk. I needed to find a way to start to process some of this, because I could tell that I wasn't who I was before. I had grown and changed, but I didn't know what to do with that information, if that makes sense. I didn't really know how to move forward with that thought, other than I just knew I wasn't the same. And after, some recovery, and after my other surgery, and I just didn't ever see myself getting back to that person. So it was like, well, who are we going to reinvent ourselves as? And I really went through it as a positive notion of, we're inventing ourselves. We're making ourselves who we want to be, right? And I started to get into the therapy, and I started to notice that I was feeling better by talking, but it was opening all these doors, and it was opening kind of this idea again of what are we here for, and almost that spiritual aspect of it, right? Right. So these thoughts are now coming into play. And I only feel like they're coming into play because we had sorted out the other things in life that needed to be in place so we could focus on those things now, right?
Right.
So I had talked with my therapist. She's very open. She's really amazing when it comes to talking with veterans and being open and really making me feel like my path of healing is individual, and that the time that I spend with her and the conversations that we have are important, and I get feedback and I get some integration, and I get to be honest and open about the things that I'm doing. And we had discussed, I had discussed with her, because I had been reading about, psilocybin trials in the VA and psilocybin trials in general, and all of these positive effects of microdosing. And, I was really just kind of like, I'm not going to try medicine, but I'm not opposed, since I'm using cannabis. You know what I mean? I'm not opposed to, I had some experience as a kid, a teenager, but they were never intentional, and there was never anything spiritual, I would say, out of them. Maybe a sense of connected to everyone, right? But never that thought of spiritual. I think at that age, I was so caught up in, the religion that had been in that background, that I probably wasn't open to the idea of the spirituality at that point. They were just drugs. They were just drugs to me back then, and we were just doing drugs,
Right.
So I decided to take a much different approach, and I decided to find some mushrooms. I had talked to my therapist about it. She had said that, she couldn't tell me what to do, couldn't give me any suggestions, but that if I needed somebody to talk to, that she was willing to talk to me about it, but not to suggest anything or to, I'm like, cool, whatever. It was the first time that I had someone, I guess, in that role of authority in that position in my life be open to something like that. So I was like, shit, let's do it. Let's jump in and let's do it, right? So I ended up finding some mushrooms and doing some smaller doses, like a gram and a half, and I was kind of microdosing, and I was really enjoying microdosing much more, but I was microdosing at a higher level. I was more like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, just to where my microdoses nowadays are more like 0.015 or maybe even lower than that. It's so the thing that I started to notice was that sense of well-being that I had from medication, but there was no altered sense or state of thought process to where, it wasn't like I felt good, but I just didn't care. You know what I mean? Like this, I felt good and I felt good. And I wanted to tell you about how I felt good. And I wanted to, like, it was kind of blowing me away. So I ended up doing some research and just trying to find as much information as I could about psilocybin and about some of the trials. And I had started to fill out some of the applications for some of the ones that were through the VA. But they didn't offer any in our state, and I was going to have to leave the state. But to be honest, I was just blown away about how much different I felt about myself, and about how I was able to process my thoughts differently, and how I was able to dismiss the negative thoughts so quickly, and how I was able to move past those negative things they were the drivers of my thought process. And somehow they were being kind of like that pain that goes back here. They were being pushed way back here. They're back there. I know they're there, right? And I know we got to go talk about it. And I know we got to go deal with them. But for my everyday life, man, this is love. This is peace. This is what I want, right? So I started, I got bummed out, and I was like, well, I can't find anything through the VA. So I was like, the hell with it. What does Kentucky have to offer? And I had been doing this, for probably, I had done the doses a couple of times and done those a few months, but I had been doing the microdosing for probably, it's about a year and a half, and I hadn't gotten a good schedule with it at first. It took probably 6 months to really kind of figure out a good kind of routine that worked for me and kind of, but I could definitely tell that it made a difference in my life and that it was important. So I don't want to skip too far forward. One of the things that came out of these microdoses and even these small 1 gram doses, right? I was just like, that was the other thing, is I was kind of scared. I was afraid to go in too deep or to take a large dose because I didn't know how I would react. And I didn't want to say the wrong thing to my wife. And I didn't want to be like, oh, I need to spill. Oh, here you go. Let me, I'm pretty big on the idea that my healing should not cause you pain. My healing should not be. I can't change how you take what I say, and you're going to choose. But for me to have to dump something to make myself feel better that might cause you pain, I can't get down with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was scared about that. I was also trying to be very therapeutic with it. And I was afraid that by doing larger doses, I was being recreational with it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really have a lot. I didn't understand. And I think that was the big thing, is I knew it was working and I knew that these things were changing, right? But I didn't have enough understanding about the mushroom, about what it was doing, about how it would, I was just limited to kind of Google and whatever pops up, and maybe a YouTube video. And then, like I'd find the guy on YouTube that's like way out here. And, I'm like, okay, I can't live that way every day. You know what I mean? So I was just trying to find that happy medium. And along the way, I found this piece of me that I was like, really clinging to the idea of spirituality and really coming around to the idea of there's a purpose and there's a reason. And, it may not be the way that I was taught, and I may not know what the right way is, but I could feel it. And I could feel that something was different. With the mushroom, I could feel this energy that was changing me. And it wasn't an energy that was just working without me being able to sense it. I could sense it. I could feel it. I had started to be able to feel the trees, feel the earth, hear them, have moments with them, have, just like this thing that was like an emotional connection that I couldn't understand. I couldn't even comprehend what was really going on. Just the fact that you can't see it, but there's a ball of energy here. You can't see it, but there's something that is just pulling me and holding me and right here, but it's here. That was such a new concept for me. That was such a new idea for me, being more of that realist, right? Of only the things that are tangible, only the things that are explainable, only the thing, like to being, oh crap, man, maybe some of this stuff was right. But then again, there I found myself stuck at that idea. I found myself stuck at the idea of if I have to choose one, how do I choose the right one? There's so many things out there that everybody thinks right. And that's where I really had that self-realization of, Jeff, you're not into this for religion. Religion is so far away from what you're looking for. You have found your own moral code. You found your own compass. You found your own way. But you're not spiritual. And I'm not giving thanks and I'm not being open and receptive to those types of energies that are out there for me. And those are the things that I found that were holding back some of my happiness, some of these energies that were stored, some of these, they were just holding back my growth and my development. And so I started to look more, and that's where I found Sanctuary. I started to look in Kentucky, and I ended up finding Sanctuary's website, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? These people are in my backyard. They're like right here next to me. How did I not know about this, right? So I start doing research, and I start reading, and I really started looking at some of the things that people had said about Sanctuary, because I went to the Sanctuary site, but I was really kind of looking at some of the little tabs that they had where people were kind of, giving their testimonials and things to where I just wanted to fill it out. I didn't know if it was going to be religion. I didn't really understand quite what it was going to be about.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question in a really long roundabout way, is the thing that got me pushed towards psilocybin was all of that life. It was pain and hurt and love and all of the things that I was missing. It was all of that pushed me, and all of that got me here. Having success and then being pushed away from that success and having to find a different way, it really spoke very, very clearly to me that life was pushing me to do something else. Life was pushing me in a direction, and I had used what I had needed in the environment and situation that I was in, and I had gotten everything out of it. I had reached every goal that I had set to accomplish. And a week after I accomplished that, life redirected me.
Mm-hmm.
And psilocybin made me start listening to that in a way where I was like, oh, instead of just dismissing that idea and being like, this shit happened to me, no, this pushed me in a direction. This made me move differently internally because I couldn't be external. Now we said, okay, we're going to build your life back. We're going to give you back all the things. We're going to show you the error in your ways, and we're going to allow you to fix it. And now that you fixed it, now it's time to fix you. And that's what I felt like it was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I've been on a journey. I've been on a journey since I started with psilocybin, and the journey led me to Sanctuary. And since then, man, my journey has just flourished and blossomed. It really has. Like I've really...
Can you talk?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, please finish what you're saying.
I've been able to be a different person. I've been able to be a person that values people's opinions that I never would have taken the opportunity to talk to before. I would have let my ego judge all of these people. I would have let who I was and who I thought I was determine who the people that were worthy for me to talk to, or that their story was worthy for me to listen to, or that it could be how could a guy who's never lived through the things that I have, how could he say anything that's going to ever be beneficial for me? But man, it's allowed me so much. It's given me such a community of individuals who touch my life every week. They touch me in ways that they don't even know. Like, I don't know. It's hard to be able to bring into words what Sanctuary has brought to me, other than clarity and peace and love. Like to break those down and but like, this is my next step. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm finally working on me. Life allowed me the opportunity, the universe allowed me the opportunity to put the stuff back together that was valuable that was the important things that were my core values for me. And now it's allowing me the opportunity to come back in and say, okay, let's dump all those things. Let's talk about them. Let's fix them. Let's go over them. Let's reevaluate who we are so that we can be a better human, so that I can be the best version of me that I can be. And that's the journey I'm on, and that's where we're at. We're happy to wake up every day. We're blessed. We're loved. I have so much going for me. I have a friend that has come to see me. Yeah.
I was gonna say it sounds like a cat was one of the things going for you there. It's beautiful. So, man, you already kind of did, but I'd love it if you could talk about the community factor a little bit more, because when I recall you coming in, my history thus far working with veterans has not been. It's not been one in which most of those individuals were really willing to engage in community to the extent that I've seen you do so. I'm curious, what sets you apart in that regard. But even more so, if you could just talk about the value of community in your recovery, especially because you did a lot of work with psilocybin by yourself. And it seems like once you came within the community, it's exponentially have increased your growth factor.
Yes, most definitely. So I think that one of the things that I found in the gym and in lifting and in competing was there was a form of camaraderie between the same people that were there all the time, Mm-hmm. And I think I find a lot of that in our community, which is really odd to me because I find myself to be a little different of an individual than I think, a good bit of our community is, but it makes no difference. It's the thing that was one of the things I was afraid of, I think I even told you, before I came to the retreat, I probably thought about turning around 10 times, man.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months ago, before I had showed up to that retreat, I probably would have turned around. I would have just sacrificed my money and went on and done my thing and been fine with it, But there was something drawing me to that, man. There was something that was like, so when I joined Sanctuary, when I first started, before I joined, I participated in multiple Sunday services.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that I heard, the stories, the ideas, the application of some of these things into people's lives, it was like a light came on, and it was like, you've been missing this. You've been missing this the whole time. Like, this is what you need. And this is a community of healing. This is a community of self-improvement. It's a community of spirituality, of an idea so much bigger than us, Mm-hmm. So, but that community aspect to me, I think I told some people when I got there, I'm like, man, I wasn't anxious, and now I'm just anxious, and I'm just like, I don't know. And the one thing that I've learned about myself is that when I get nervous about something, it usually makes me dig in harder, and I'm just like, let's do it. Let's get it over with. Like, I'm not afraid. I can be nervous and do a bunch of stuff, but I'm not afraid. I'm still going to do it. And usually if I've never done it before, I'm at least going to try to look like I've done it before. I'm going to try, I'm going to try to be good at it. But no, I just felt this. So I felt like, my discovery call with Athena was very inviting. I felt like the way that she approached it, it was kind of like my first communication with someone who was, in building and making sanctuary, and my conversation with her, it blew my mind. It was so simple, but my ability to be open and to talk and to just tell her the things that I wanted, like I hadn't even told my therapist some of these things, and I'm just like, man, like how did I just open the door and just walk into that, and just so I just trusted my intuition, and my intuition just kind of told me to just keep coming back and to just keep doing it, and to join in the conversation, and to become a part of the community. And when I came to the community, I didn't really realize it at first. It was one thing to talk to you guys and to see you guys on Sunday, but to become a part of that weekend retreat and to walk away from that feeling like not just a connectedness, not just your, and I hate to say that, but it's not just the cliche mushroom, oh, I feel connected, whatever. The energy there that weekend, those people, that environment, it changed my life. It didn't just make me realize that I was missing it, but it made me realize that I needed it and I wanted it. So I came home, and I've just been trying to engage as much as possible ever since. I've just been trying to, I didn't push my wife to join Sanctuary, but I did talk about it with her, and she has ended up making that decision on her own and coming to that. And that's an awesome thing. And I love that.
But we have seen significant changes in her already just from being, seeing her engaging. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But like, if she chooses to go away from Sanctuary, that's fine, and that can be her choice, and I don't mean that like she would, but I'm just saying that what I have found is that this is for me, and this is definitely for me. I've left so many meetings with the feeling. And I've told you this before, and I don't mean to I'm not just trying to puff you up here, but thank you so much for digging in and fighting for this, man. Thank you. Like this really has changed my life. This really has brought me to a place where I'm so excited to see where we grow from here. Like I haven't always had that feeling in my life. I haven't always had that outlook. But with this community, with the friendships, with the conversations, with the messages, it's like they never stop coming. They just keep coming, And I think most of our community at Sanctuary, they know that I try to get as involved as I can with like the ministership programs, and man, like those things have evolved into some amazing things. Those things have really made a difference in my days on, how my week goes, and I didn't realize that I would want to be so involved in this community when I joined. I was really looking for the idea of integration and the idea of trying to figure out what this meant to me. And now I just find it as I still want for me, but now I want things for this community, and I want to help this community, and I want to push and make this more available. And there's so many people that they just don't know they're missing this.
Man, it has been so beautiful watching you from those first few times and seeing that kind of trepidation, seeing when you got out of your truck there on that retreat and how I could see it. You were just like, I don't fucking know about this. And by the time it was over, like that dose day, and you were just there guarding everybody, just watching, I was just like, this guy right here, this fucking guy right here belongs right here. And I just, ever since then, man, it's been so beautiful seeing you bring you to this community, because that's what I feel like we're seeing, that maybe very few people have ever seen, is you, the real you, showing up for yourself first and then for the people around you.
My wife would agree with you. My wife knows that I left me. She met me when I was like 18, and now I went to war and I kind of lost that person. I lost the ability to sing. I lost the ability to cut up and have happiness, and even though I've found some of these things along the way, Psilocybin Sanctuary has created a space for me to be me inside of me and to bring me back out. And it has bled over into my life to where I sing and I act goofy and I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. And I just don't, like, it has made me rediscover myself. And I couldn't imagine my life without it. It feels like I've been part of this community for so much longer.
I think there's something going on here much deeper than we can ever realize, that transcends time. I think that all of these events and all of these things that have continue to bring people together, there is something moving behind the scenes that's been, we have been a part of this community for a very long time. This is not our first go round, I believe, anyway. And I would just say that, just your story alone is enough to make whatever we have gone through over the years well worth it. Well worth it. If I could go back to that time in the jail cell, thinking that that's where I was going to be spending the next decade of my life, man, just go back there and smile, knowing what's coming, man. So I guess, you say this is something that people don't know what they're missing. And like you with silver, like, I'm not trying to sell anybody on this thing, right. But I also know that there are a whole lot of people out there that are hurting, that are alone, that don't know what they're missing or they don't even know what they need, They
barely know what's available.
And I guess, like, how would you communicate that out to people so that it doesn't have the traditional baggage that comes with, like you already said, religion? We don't need more religion. We need more spirituality. We need more community. And particularly thinking of, like, veterans and the people, the demographic where you came from, like, yeah, what
I think that immediately for veterans, like, a lot of veterans have that religion drawback. There's a lot of opportunities. They have chaplains and things like that in the military, but not a lot of people participate. I mean, there's a decent percent, but I would say a higher percent does not participate. But I would say to do that job and to live that life and to do the things that you do, you either have to be really in tune with your maker and is okay with the decisions of what you're doing, or you just choose to not participate in that, because I think there's a good way to be between. I don't think anybody wants to live their life judging themselves, at that moment when there's things that they need to be doing, to stay alive or to accomplish things. But so from a military perspective, veteran perspective, I think that outreach into the community, I think that, to be honest, the thing that I think that makes the biggest difference, that shows the biggest difference with Sanctuary, is through witnessing and through my testimony and through people hearing people that are like me, or hearing people that have a background, or even people that are completely different to me, that are just looking at me going, this guy's going to talk about church. Cool. I hope you think that, because I'm not going to fucking talk about church, bro, but I'll talk to you about some spirituality. Let's go. But I do want to talk to you about this community of healing, of spirituality, and I think that for me, I was just at a point where I was so in need that I was looking, but I would love to reach those people who are just at that point where they're looking and they don't even know they're looking, they don't feel like there is something to look for. They just feel like there's something. And but there's a lot of benefit for those others too, and those others that aren't veterans, and those people that just have that shyness towards any religious entity, and I think that again is just going to be based off of what they hear, what our actions are, how do we witness? And you could tell anybody to come join, but until they come and see a Sunday service and witness it for themselves, that, we're not talking about God. We're not talking about, don't get me wrong, God and the Creator and the Great Spirit and the universe, it may come up, right? But we're not preaching it to you.
Right.
These are people's ideas. Right. These are people's feelings, and these are people that they're no wronger, or they're no right, or they're not wrong. And I think that acceptance, is what really draws, and what really brings the people. I said this before, the church, the church, the group, the sanctuary, it's the people. You're wrong. Like I said, thank you. We wouldn't have this without that leadership. But these people that show up every day, these people that that's what it's about. And when you can show other people that those people show up, and you can show people, you can. But I honestly think that by reading anything, but I think our outreach should be through witness and testimony. And I think it's one of the most powerful things that can be used to reach people, because we are people and we are going through all of this together.
Well, this is certainly a powerful story here, Jeff. I asked you earlier what you would say to a young man or woman going into the military, and I'd love to ask you on the inverse, if you had audience with 10 to 100, 1,000 people who were just coming out of the military, not sanctuary aside, we're not talking about sanctuary, we're just talking about those individuals having some idea of how their life is getting ready to change again. And with this wisdom that you have now, years after, what would you communicate to them?
The first thing that I would say is allow yourself some grace. But you're not alone. And if you find yourself in a place that you don't want to be, or if you find yourself in a way that you don't want to be, just know there's hope. And I would be more than willing to discuss with anyone and to give my testimony for the things that have helped me and the ways that I have had to go to get to the place that I am now. And I think that if I could share that with those people, that it serves the purpose of when they get to that point, they will have had this information and they won't have to search for it. Because a lot of us, when we come out, we don't want anything to be wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
I did this. I went here. I did this. There's something wrong with you. Nothing wrong with me. You know, and a lot of us have that feeling. And then we realize when we don't fit in, oh shit, this is me. This is us. You know, it's hard to go from a position where you're important into being responsible and things matter, and you come out into a world where you're not appreciated and your ideas aren't listened to. These people have more experience doing what you're doing, but yet you have experience doing something that they couldn't hold a candle to what you can do.
Right. Worlds beyond. Yeah.
But I would just encourage them to find themselves and find who they are without that. Because that's who you are. Who they made you become and the things that you've done do not make you who you are. They just give you the sense of who you are. But that's not, and you can change your ego. You can change all of that. And that's what I would tell them. Beautiful. And I would tell them that I love them. And I'm very appreciative for everything that they've done.
Man, there has probably not been a single group of individuals that have changed my mind, like big picture, changed my mind about the understanding of how we function as a society and what we are capable of as individuals, like working with veterans. You know, I told you at the camp, the retreat there, that I grew up in a fuck the military. There ain't no good there. And that lasted a very long time. And when I started working with people in Jamaica and seeing how many just some of the most incredible human beings that walk this planet, most caring, who are sincerely there, just like you said, to stand up for freedom, to protect and to serve the human population. It's incredible. So thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for being such a formative, foundational member of this community, because we're just getting fucking started, bro. I mean, we're just getting started with this thing. A couple years in, like what we saw develop in Jamaica after 7 years, with, you know, that in a situation where, you know, it was hard to get to, cost a lot of money. It didn't facilitate the growth in community like we're seeing here. So if we're allowed by the grace of whatever's out there to continue this thing on for 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years, God knows what we could be seeing here. And the mushroom is such a powerful tool to incorporate into this spiritual practice. Can you talk just a little bit? The last thing I'd love, and you know, a bit, not selfishly, because my motivation, or the motivation behind these minister programs, has been to empower individuals, not to create a sales funnel, not to create some kind of multi-level marketing scheme, but to fucking empower individuals to take care of themselves with this sacrament, and then to start extending that into others. And that's what, so you've been doing this, you've done this myself, minister, first taking care of yourself. You went through this friends and family, and you're starting to sit for other people. Can you just talk a little bit about your experience within those two programs? Because like you've already said that they have evolved since they've started, and they will continue to evolve. So just knowing where we are right now and seeing the possibilities in the future with this self-empowerment, share some of your experience there, and maybe even what you envision for the future of programs like those.
Sure. So I was part of the first group of the myself ministers. And I know that you guys had done the cleric program, which I did not get to participate in. So I was part of the first group. And so I found I found the My Self-Ministry course to be educational. I also found it to be an excellent resource to make myself a little more comfortable with administering to myself, and to kind of have access to those resources to just move myself into more microdosing, more intentional, larger doses. And, just kind of the idea that just basically I was just ignorant to the terminology and to a lot of the things that we learned in that first course. Right. So I found it very educational and very informative. But to me, the course, the meat and potatoes is the conversation,
For sure.
And when I say that it has grown, I mean, as the course has gone, we've added more people. And with the more people that we get, and the more personalities, and the more ideas and perceptions, and the more stories, the more community comes in. And by building the idea of the My Self-Ministry with the idea of empowering me and others who took the course to be able to do this and to feel good about it, and to have the not just the course of saying, okay, well, I'm just going to go through this to check the block so that I'm in the best place that I can be, but to actually take away from it the idea of the community that I'm doing this with, and to actually to get to see what others' ideas of just one of the best conversations that I remember having. The first one was our sincerity conversation. And it's like when we get into these conversations, you get into all of these different views, and you get to learn these things, and you get to see these things and hear them. But you intended this to empower us. But what you did is you made us a group, and you made us, and that's what's growing, and that's what's making this so beneficial, is because I have a team of ministers. I have it's not even a team, it's a gaggle, it's a group, it's a wad of us, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, man, we're all gonna roll in, and man, this is gonna be good. But so what you did by empowering us as individuals is you greatly empowered us as a group. And I think that as far as the myself is the biggest takeaway for me, is because not only is it reoccurring, not only can I go back and I can go over these lessons again, I can hear other people's input again, I can become an integrated part of my community to where we can learn weekly from each other, and we can grow off of the things from one week to another, and it just doesn't stop. It feels like, you know what I mean? Like, and I love it. I love being able to be there. I hate the days that I can't make it, that life has other things going on for me. I'm like, man, this is kind of throwing me for a loop. I really had this scheduled today, So I feel like, the My Self-Ministry course has given me the ability to just move forward with my practice in a more educated and more positive way. I do have to say, though, that, man, the community experience, even though I do the myself course and I can administer to myself, I cannot wait till I can be with the community again, because it's different,
Well, this celebration that we're going to have, even though it's going to be lower dose, more of a celebratory vibe, having a number of these folks who have been through these conversations together, then coming together and sharing in sacrament experience together. I think I am so fucking stoked about that. I can't even.
Me too. I
tell
can't.
You.
I can't.
And it to say this to you, like, so it's been because the last thing I want to do after all of our experience in Jamaica is develop another fucking marketing funnel. You know, like I don't want people coming to Sanctuary unless they truly feel like this is something that's going to serve them and they're going to be a vested member of the community. This is not some product or service where people come in, get a thing, and then dip out and go their way. No, this is community, and you really embody that. But it's been really hard for me because I don't want it to be sales pitchy, to communicate the value of these minister programs exactly in what you're saying. As the community builds and these ongoing conversations can happen, every single one of us will grow exponentially in our own personal practice. And like, I guess that's where we do have a bit of a hurdle, which is fine. But in that the majority of people are more comfortable with being sold something than being invited into something, than being invited to be a part of something, and like the value that that these minister trainings are with the collective mind that comes into it. Like it has the potential to have such a massive impact on psychedelic culture that we right now can't even realize it. We're just fish swimming in the pond, but take a step back. And if, as the wonderful compound of LSD told me we would have 1,000 ministers ordained in the near future, like to take a step back and see the possible impact of those 1,000 people who are developing their own practice and bringing that practice into community and sharing with each other, and everybody growing so much faster together. Like the research and all the scientific kind of approach around this, valued as it may be, it will pale in comparison to what we will learn and be able to implement as individuals and community. It's fucking so exciting to me. And you have just, like, you get it. I know you get it. I see you getting it. I see you coming in and showing up and helping to grow it. And I personally want to thank you so much for that, because it's going to take a few people. And we got a few people, we got a handful of people right now who are still enrolled in these subscriptions and continue to come on the calls and continue to develop their own practice. But eventually people are going to see what's coming out of the input that you're bringing into this and others are bringing into this. And it's just going to be a huge impact on the psychedelic culture overall. So very excited and very grateful.
I'm glad to be here, brother. Like I said, it's very beneficial for my life. Very helpful. And I love it.
I've seen it. All right. Go ahead.
I was just going to touch on the friends and family real quick because I talked on the.
Oh, sure.
So sure. Family, the friends and family course, man, I really found that has really drawn me in to the needs of others, and it's really pointed out that this sacrament and these experiences are not just about what happens to me and with my experience, and the energy and the healing and the witnessing of that and the feeling of that, and to it's life-changing. Mm-hmm. It's being able to watch at the retreat and to see others is what really drew me into the family and friends, because it was like, man, I know so many people that need this. I know so many people. And how can I offer it to them if I don't go through and learn? And how can I be the person and develop into what I need to be if I don't learn to be able to help take care of this community and to be part of this community in that way where I can sit for these people. And I've done the things that I need to do to prepare myself so that I can give you the best experience possible. And I learned that when I was preparing to sit for someone. I was so outside of myself because all I could think about for the whole week was, what does this person need? What does this person need? What can I do to make sure they have what they need? And for me to be that way was just, it was awesome. It was a great feeling. It was something that I wasn't accustomed to. And it's just part of that growth and development. It's part of that pulling more of me, of who I really truly am, out of this shell that I built that was just this hard ass that didn't want to be, But I think that's the coolest thing that's come out of the friends and family course is just the desire to help, the desire to be there for those people who want this, and to be able to do it to the best of my ability. That's what really, and I'll be honest with you, I can't wait till the community course opens. I'll be there. So.
Yeah, we've had a couple people. Actually, Christina reached out this morning asking about that, so we're gonna have to get that formalized. And yeah, I won't go too far into any of that, but man, that is where it's at. That is where it's helping others. Like, I had no idea. I spent so long just thinking life was about me,
right?
And it's not. It's service to others. And what more incredible of a space and an opportunity is that in that transformation that you are there witnessing and supporting, and the energy, that Dr. Joe Tafur that was in town last week for that psychedelic science thing, he was saying that they have been able to basically show through quantitative data that the most important, not the second most important, not the most important factor in the growth that you experience in a psychedelic trip is the person who is supporting you and the place where you are being supported. The space that the person holds. And I've known this and seen this for years, and you don't try to communicate that out because, like, it's not about me, it's not about you. But when you make it not about you, when I make it not about me, right, then that person is able to have their transformation. And so that was such a profound understanding to be able to see, like I said, like the actual data that's been compiled over years of observation that illustrates that the individual who is the support is more important than the medicine itself. That's fucking, it doesn't matter if you take ayahuasca, LSD, psilocybin, MDMA, blah, 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 right? It matters more who you're with when you take it. That is profound.
Yeah. I agree. That's. But
would you? I'd love.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask if you wanted to share anything about that recent. That was the first time you sat for anybody, right? Aside from, didn't you recently sat for a member?
Last minute something changed, and I'm going to sit for them on this Friday coming up. But something changed for them in their situation. So, but I will share with you this, that I went through all of the motions and that I set everything up and that I had everything there, like what I said, like I had, just reached out and tried to make sure, is there anything that you need and can I do anything? And I had everything prepped and ready to go, and last minute it went the other way. So, so I went out and I had a dose myself in a setting that I just couldn't see letting the time go to waste. And I think I had talked with you about an experience that I had on the full moon, and I was just kind of left with a lot of questions and a lot of weirdness out of the full moon experience.
That sounded like it.
I mean, like, yes, I was on the ground on a blanket, rolling in a blanket, just weird.
Good.
But yeah, it was. But man, the experience that I had this Saturday, it just unfolded all of it for me. And it just kind of, so much clarification that this is the path, and that we are evolving and changing, and that, this is, I've got some things that I need to start to reevaluate that are inside, because we've made ourselves to a nice, comfortable spot, but, I still want some time to kind of think and meditate on it, but it's a story that I would love to share, because my experience over this last weekend was I was just filled with so much love and so much acceptance and just positive, wholesome energy. And I was really able to spend hours after my physical experience had passed, and I mean just hours in nature, contemplating, walking, just really setting my new path for myself, man. Just really like my new schedule for my weeks, my like it all just unfolded. Like it was just like, bro, this is it. This is where we go from here. This is what we're doing now, and then we'll reevaluate that later, and we'll look at what we're doing, But it really just brought into my mind and my life, with all of the things that we kind of have going on right now, and all of the things that are moving and going in my life, that I have to focus on these things that are so important to me, and that are growing me, and that those are first. Everything else is secondary. The way that I treat and interact and love, those are first. People are first. Relationships are first. Everything else is secondary. Love is just amazing. And for me to come from a place where I hated who I was, hated to be around people, hated the idea of even talking about the way that I felt, and to be sitting here with you right now and to do this is just a witness and a testimony to the power of what we can do with the aid and the tool of the mushroom and of psychedelics. They didn't do it for me, but they definitely helped me get to the space where I could work it out myself. And that I'll this isn't a part of my life that I couldn't imagine now going back and not having the mushroom, the experience, the love, the feeling, the community, and sanctuary, all of it.
That's so beautiful, brother. So beautiful. Sounds like your name and your personality, maybe you're coming back in line. Jeff Love.
Yeah, there we go. You have no clue how many times I've been told I've never seen somebody with a name of love have so much hate.
Oh wow. Oh
yeah, I was told. Not recently. I haven't been told that recently, but
yeah, definitely not since I've known you, for sure. But man, I am witnessing the evolution of Jeff Love, and it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. Last question I'll ask you. What does psilocybin say to you, Jeff?
Psilocybin tells me that I'm better than what I think I am.
Oh.
And that I am okay.
Yes.
That's what it tells me.
That is a beautiful one. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing this time and sharing your story. You are really a hero. You really are a hero, brother.
I love you, brother. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Likewise, my friend. Likewise.